Tammy, I gather the Bible is an old book. Yeah, I'm pretty cluey. And in the knowledge stakes, older is not better. So, simple question, why should I trust this account from ancient sheepherders, as some would put it, over modern scientists?
Yeah, Dave, it's a really good question. I mean, let's face it, we live in a culture where believing in the Bible and God is seen archaic and it lacks modern enlightenment. But the reality is that there is some truth to this. We can start to look at some of the reasons behind it, and today we'll take a look at that. I mean, to begin with, let's consider the claim that the Bible is out of date because it was written by sheepherders who lacked modern scientific understanding. Now, the thing is, the Bible doesn't claim to be written by man. Instead, it claims to be inspired by God. What the authors could not know for themselves was revealed. So it's not about sheepherders versus modern scientists, but rather it comes down to a question of whether the book of Genesis was inspired. So let's look at that claim. If we were to evaluate the book of Genesis from the viewpoint that it was inspired by God, we would expect to see the signature of divine authorship. Because God claims to be timeless, powerful, all-knowing and personal. When we open the book of Genesis, do we get that? Do we see that? Do we start to unpack a God who is relatable? I think that we can. So let's look at some examples. First, the book of Genesis shows that the book of Genesis shows it's inspired because it is consistent with a picture of a relatable God. We can see that in that God used people to write the book of Genesis. We wouldn't expect a personal and relatable God just to drop a book out of the sky. Instead, he reveals through people and the culture in their own language this very book of Genesis. In fact, I think it's far more believable in that way. And across history, he gradually revealed himself to people, and what emerges is this picture of a God who forms and builds relationships. This image then carries through the entire Bible. Next, the book of Genesis shows inspiration because its creation account is a level of completeness with what we see in the world. It describes nature and humanity, the humanity of our capacity for evil right through to our need for love. It explains the universe and its laws. It really captures nature and humanity. Then from there, the Bible also shows uniqueness because it explains some of the fundamental and deep down questions we have in life. Where did we come from? What was I created for? What is my purpose in life? Why does death seem so wrong? Why do I believe in right and wrong? In fact, one of the questions I believe Genesis answers squarely is why we love. We love because we are created in God's image, and God is all about relationships. God is love. And being created in God's image connects why we crave to know our purpose and our identity in life. The account of Adam and Eve cogently grounds why as men and women we are drawn together in marriage and love. The book of Genesis, a book that just really captures why we are drawn together as human beings in relationship and really captures our unique desire for love. Going on from there, though, the fall really does also highlight our human nature, but not only that, it pinpoints why there is a need within us, why there is a belief within us that the world is not as it ought to be. That pain, suffering, injustice and death were not part of the original plan. A close look at the book of Genesis, a book written by so-called sheepherders, and we find that it explains so much about life and creation. Finally, the book of Genesis demonstrates inspiration because it cohesively fits within the rest of the Bible. Without Genesis, we can't make sense of Jesus. The whole book highlights our need for a Redeemer, someone to set this broken world right again. And Jesus, through his life and ministry, constantly referred back to the book of Genesis, and in doing so, affirmed the inspirer and affirmed the creation account. Now, today I haven't even begun to scratch the surface of all the reasons we can trust the account of Genesis today. I haven't even looked at medical, historical, or external evidence. But there is a handout in the Bible study guide if you want to go deeper. Instead, all I've done today is taken a surface look at the book of Genesis to see whether there is any merit to the claim it's inspired by God. And in my view, the evidence is strong. So I know I haven't answered all of the questions today, but instead I hope that I've inspired you and encouraged you to continue asking questions and to help you on your journey.
Thanks, Tammy.